Hey everyone, what the fuck is up? I hope you had an amazing day today. My name is Onizo Yojo, and today I'm here to talk about Fire Emblem.
Just to suffer.
What? So I'm actually here today to talk about Salty Illuminati Emblem, of course. The new Fire Emblem, I guess, because we didn't get one in the direct. So I played the demo for a while. I did both of the routes, and the last two, my big brain cells have come up with an opinion. Holy shit. Somehow I managed to string it together. So right away I just kind of want to talk about the voice acting. Just this one fucking clip, which was so funny to me.
I declare their punishment must be swift and final. So this is the lie you would weave. What mummery is this? Dragon.
So, not gonna lie, no cap, really enjoyed this fucking game. It's got a lot of really unique quirks. I think it's got a lot going for it personally, and that's from someone who's mostly come from a background of Fire Emblem specifically. I've not really dabbled in other strategy games beyond that. I actually did find it quite hard though, only coming from Fire Emblem background, to wrap my head around the combat and stuff at first. But when I got used to it, I actually did really enjoy it. I'll talk more about it in a minute. But firstly, I just want to talk about how the game is structured very quickly. So there's three main, I guess parts of the game. There's story of the game, which kind of plays out like cutscenes. There's the exploration phase, where you can run around the map, talk to your allies and NPCs, and then there's the battle phase. Oh yeah, battle! But firstly, I just want to talk about the exploration phase, because I feel like the story phase is quite self-explanatory. So the exploration phase, for what it was fine. I didn't really care. You think along the lines of My Castle from Fates, but more to do with the story. So you can basically just run around and talk to your allies. They've got like two lines of dialogue, and then there's some NPCs or some members from your party will have a little exclamation mark over their head, and then that means you can make a choice to tell them. Not gonna lie, I don't really think the choice actually matters that much. I don't think it's pivotal to the story. It'll just influence your three main convictions, which is like the morality system in the game, and I'll talk about that a little bit later as well. So what you're all probably here for is battle system. So personally, like I said before, I really liked it, so I'll try to explain it as simply as I can. But essentially, battle isn't determined like turns in Fire Emblem. It's governed by each character's and each enemy's speed stats. So the higher the speed stat, the better chance a character has of going first. Again, coming from just really a Fire Emblem background, it was really interesting to see that you actually have to use your brain instead of just throwing all your units in the front line. You actually have to use your head and be like, okay, if I move a unit here, I get a backstab, the enemy moves, and then I have to move on the So you actually have to be pretty big brain, I'm not gonna lie, because you have to think several turns in advance, because enemies, if you move incorrectly, they can actually sneak behind your back line. And that's what happened to me, and then they actually killed one of my mages. So the combat's actually challenging, and I had a kind of a tough time, I'm not gonna lie. A lot of the times when I'm playing strategy games, sometimes I'll just kind of move my units without really thinking. And in Fire Emblem, it doesn't matter as much, because you can move all your units in one turn. But in this game, enemies can move like zip, zip, zap, zap, like while you're moving too, and it's like, ah! So positioning actually really matters, and you have to think really far ahead, which I really like. You have to actually use your head, so that's fun. Another thing as well about positioning is you actually have high ground advantages too. So the main character actually has an ability called Hawk Dive, where he has bonus damage from hitting an enemy from high ground, so that's really interesting. And that'll lead me to my next point then about the combat, which is each character's abilities. The character's abilities think along the lines of Fire Emblem combat arts, but they don't cost weapon durability or health or anything like that. Instead, they cost turn points, I think they're called. At least I called them that. They're those wee yellow fucking square fucking things. Those wee yellow diamond things on the character. Basically each turn you'll get one. So say the move costs 2, well, you need to wait 2 turns to use it, or 3, you need to wait 3 turns. So again, you actually have to plan far ahead and be like, okay, in 3 turns I'll have this ability, and then I can deal damage to this guy, and if I move him here, you have to really think about it, which I really did like. Although it did make mages feel kind of underwhelming, but then because basically each mage, to use their main damaging spell, it costs 2 turn points. But I guess it kind of balances out, because the mages can it's elemental damage, and then they can strike enemy weaknesses, which is another thing you can do. There's a lot of depth in the combat, and I really do like that. There was also items you could use, which were mostly HP items, but there was one really funny thing where you can just fucking chuck fucking fire rocks at people. It was so funny looking. And there was actually even a character that specializes in using items, so you can use an item twice in one turn for the price of one, or you know, she can give bonus health with health items, which was really great. I thought that was a cool character. Just on the topic of characters there, while I'm thinking about that, the choices you make and your conviction, you know, your morality system, whether you're a good guy or a bad guy or whatever, they actually affect the characters you can recruit. So basically my first playthrough I went with, you know, just kind of generic good guy, you know, I was just seeing what kind of choices you could make. And I was able to recruit that items girl that I was talking about. Then in my second playthrough, I knew I was going to sacrifice Roland instead, so I tried to play more of a bad guy route, and her recruitment option didn't actually come up. So I was like, whoa, okay, so depending on the choices you make, it affects the characters you can recruit, so that's something you have to keep in mind too. So overall, combat was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. It's got a big learning curve though if you're coming mainly from a Fire Emblem background like me. You know, the enemies aren't going to wait for you to trudge through the Valentia swamp. You know, you're going to have to like really think about your movement and your positioning and stuff, which is great. I really enjoyed it. Now on to the story. Holy shit, man, I was really impressed, I'm not gonna lie. Just from the small little demo we got, I really got a feel for the story they're trying to tell. It's really interesting. So just right away, a lot of people were really kind of like, why are we in the middle of the story? But personally, I actually think that's a really good move in the devs, because it was the perfect place to show us, look how your decisions affect the characters and affect the story, with the perfect blend of not too hard combat, but challenging as well, which I personally thought was great. You know, obviously there's just stuff you don't understand and stuff like, you know, who are these characters, what's their relationship, how did we get to this point? But I felt those questions actually made me more interested in the game and actually getting my hands on the final product, so I was all for it, to be honest. So just with the devs' decision to put us here, they give us an example of one of the big choices we'll have to make, which is sacrifice Roland or save/protect Roland. Either choice you pick actually does drastically change the story and the characters, which is it's such a refreshment from Fire Emblem, which your choices just don't matter. Like they really don't. So you can actually tip the scales in a game about scales. Oh! It was so refreshing to see. So on the one hand, if you protect Roland, you put up a last stand type defense against Alvora, Ace Frost's army general, and she'll come to Wolffort, which is the place you bring Roland back to. It's like your home, and the odds seem really stacked against you. It's not looking good if you defend Roland. So basically you're faced with a choice. You either have to try and beat Alvora against really bad odds, or sacrifice your people and their well-being in order to gain the upper hand and possibly win, which was like, bro, it was so cool to see that, and I was really interested to see the implications that would have later on in the story perhaps. And then on the other hand, if you sacrifice Roland, what actually happens is it puts you at odds with one of your allies who's in the same kingdom as you. I can't remember his name for the life of me, but basically you actually incite a civil war because he disagrees with that. He's completely loyal to the king, so he completely disagrees, and then you have a civil war in your hands, which seems to be exactly according to Gustadolf's plan. He's like the main kind of Fire Emblem bad guy, number 26 kind of guy, and it was like, what? It was insane to see that your choices actually really did matter, and I really liked that. There was also something I picked up on, and it's the theme behind the game. I think the theme behind the game is the weight of your choices, you know, very like Cowboy Bebop, but like, you know, it's hence, you know, the scales, you know, it's your decisions carry weight, and for good or bad, you'll have to live with it, you know, shoulder the burden of your decisions. And I, for one, think that's really, really interesting writing, and I think it's going to make for a really good story. Man, the art style is just bon appetit. It is just so fucking good, man. Like, oh, the music as well, insane, godlike, epic. The character designs have this real like sophistication or something about them. They're drawn with this kind of rough pencil to help kind of give a vibe of the time set that they're set in, and even the on-map graphics, you know, like the gameplay graphics, like that are you know, it's all pixels and stuff, it has this kind of like real charm to it that is really nice. You know, like personally I didn't actually play Octopath or any of those other games, so seeing those kind of graphics was like so cool. I just fucking loved it. I did have some problems with the game though, namely just the camera angle was so whack. It was so nauseating. I think that's actually going to be my main complaint to the devs in the survey they're putting out. Which, by the way, if you've played the demo, I would highly recommend you do the survey, because I've heard that the devs behind this actually really listen to the feedback and they'll implement it into they'll implement it into the game if there's like enough, you know, outcry for it or whatever. So the camera, it was just too zoomed in, man, and whenever you spun it round, you were like, "Aah!" Like it was so nauseating. And you like I said earlier, the characters had some iffy voices sometimes, but for the most part, the characters were actually very well voiced for an English dub. It just goes to show you how far English dubbing has come in general in the anime industry, which is really great to see, and I'm all for it. To sum up, I think we're in for a treat. I think this game is going to be really great, and you know, we all know, like, it's been 84 years since Fire Emblem has had any news, it feels like, but what we got instead was something really cool, really interesting to sink our teeth into, our starving teeth. And I, for one, can't wait to see what the final product will be. Ooh, yes! Alright guys, thanks for sticking with me to the very end of the video. If you liked it, give it a like, maybe a comment, maybe a sub, you know? Who knows what will happen in the future. Stick around for some drunken Irish Fire Emblem fanboy shit, and I will see you in the next one.